Talked about earlier on the fact that Edward Francis Small, Dixon Colley, and others, the likes of Data Hydra, the late Swabi Konate, the late Josh Christensen, just to name a few, use their pens and microphones to shepherd the Gambia through various rough patches in our national development, whether it was towards the path for independence or the 1981 chaos and the 1994 troubles and the 1994 to 2017 challenges under the dictatorship, and of course the 40 days or so of political impasse in 2017, 2016, the media continued to play its role as a unifying factor, reporting on critical national issues. Beyond that, in recent times, we've seen the TRRC proceedings, whether or not we like Jammeh or not, the media brought proceedings of the TRRC into our rooms every day for a regular time. And during the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, the media collaborated with government and public institutions to roll out programs that are essential in educating the public about accurate information and uniting citizens to follow essential health guidelines in a crisis situation. Community radios cannot be forgotten in this case. In fact, they were critical in disseminating this information in rural areas in languages that the populace understood most in our communities. Therefore, a united population is important in the media role in equipping a united population to tackle challenges of national development are essential. The challenges and way forward for us are essential. One is that despite the media facing all of these challenges, we have continued to make giant strides. The University of the Gambia established a School of Journalism as recent as 2014. Yes, that school is there. It has graduated several students, one of the finest Gambian journalists, but most of them, unfortunately, are not in the newsrooms as we speak. So therefore, we must make sure that we find them and bring them back to the newsroom, or as we graduate more people, we need to make sure that UTG, SDGM, MAJAG, and other journalism institutions can do more to the needs of the Gambia. And I'm saying this to speak because in today's world, we have a lot of issues surrounding the media, especially issues around misinformation, disinformation, and hate speech. And those are issues that can fuel hatred and incite violence. We have a primary responsibility as journalists to make sure that we do not promote those kind of messages on our platforms. Media chiefs must hire professional journalists and pay them well to run their newsrooms and current affairs programs. Therefore, investment in the media and media infrastructure is not negotiable. Online media platforms play a crucial role in shaping the views and opinions of Gambians, whether it's What's on Gambia, Fatu or Fatu Network, or other over a dozen platforms. They share significant news and information daily. It's important that they are assisted and supported to continue to professionalize and standardize their reporting and contribute to self-reliance and national development. To conclude, the media has been a driving force in promoting self-reliance and national development. So I would say, therefore, do not fear the media, but strengthen the media. And in the words of a legend, let's not subtract, let's not divide. If and when the media occupies its role in promoting self-reliance and national development without any prejudice, the Gambia's journey to prosperity becomes not just a dream, but an achievable reality. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Demba Kande. Do not fear the media, but strengthen the media. Certainly, we have a very important role that we had and continues to play in the development of this country from independence to now. And that's the more reason why, this conversation is going beyond just this whole. It's being streamed live on TV and online. And so Gambians both at home and abroad are watching and hearing all what you are saying here, because all of us can fit here. Even if you bring the whole of Nyomi, they can fit here. So, because of the media, you have people, both here and abroad watching and, getting to know what is being discussed here. But like you said, Demba, the media has been a key player in our struggle for independence. You mentioned the issue of, Edward Francis Small. We all know, his role in our fight for independence. He is well known for saying, no taxation without representation. And so that shows that the media has been here, and the media will continue to be here. I will now invite Mr. Santano, who is going to moderate the Q&A session. If you have any question for any of the panelists, get ready, the mic will come, and then you can ask your questions. Mr. Sankano, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sise. Again, once again, thank you very much to our various illustrious panelists. I would like to inform you that we'll have a photo session with the panelists later on. The floor is now open for questions. Those who are having questions couldn't ask. Where's the mic? We need to have two mics, one in front. I think we give the lady there was a cliffhanger on her. Then we went for the break. Yes, welcome. Let's start with the lady here and then we go back. She has cut her before, fortunately. Yeah, she can go ahead. Okay, no problem. You can give it us. Yeah, I guess. No problem.
You see, it's good to be an open African. They go to the privilege. Continue giving privilege. I just want to say a few words. I only start hearing from Professor Paul, and he addressed sort of most of my concerns. Just to be informed that my office, they are doing a good job to include the diaspora in terms of voting and otherwise. But my question to you is, I have traveled all over the world and met many Gambians, all good organizations, institutions, from UN down to ECOWAS. You have Gambians when they are very productive, very hardworking, highly respected. But when they are in the Gambia here, they are the most difficult people. Or they cannot help the country. Is it the problem is in the country or it is because of them? Organization, Islamic Development Bank, World Bank, UN, ECOWAS, AU, Gambians are running those institutions. And in most other countries, their ministries, Gambians are there. But we cannot set ourselves properly. And the other thing, the diasporans also, they advise us to include them. But I want to appeal to them also. I mean, I was a diaspora one day. Let them not feel we are going Gambia to help them. No, I'm here to help the government. No. Helping the government are helping themselves. They are country. You see, you can come here and say, no, I'm helping the boys. Gambia. They should be here to work for themselves, for their country. Wherever they are, they may have passport there, they may have citizen there, but when things come to us, they are Gambians. So let them come with the intention, I'm going back to my country to do my quota and deliver my responsibility to my people. Then they will be fitting. Nobody will be able to squeeze them. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you. I want to give her the mic. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Uncle, for giving me back the mic. Thank you to the distinguished panelists for very insightful, very great recommendations, very good treatment of your various subjects. Thank you, Prof. I have so much to say. Some of it has already been said, but I'll just quickly run through them. Self-reliance. I think, as somebody said, we could have the best brains, best everything, all the natural resources. I want to echo that we need a change in attitude for the better. We need our good old traditional African values, which we have and had. And we really need to exhibit them. The work ethics, the punctuality, the diligence in everything that we do. I think with that, even without so much resources, look at where we are. We don't have diamonds, we don't have gold. We had groundnuts, and I think at one time cotton. I remember growing up. I don't know how that went. So it's very important that we change our attitude. We work together. We wish each other well. We know that everybody can only get your wursak. You cannot get somebody else's. And we help each other. Even you see that even with job advertisements. They only get drawn to your attention at the very last minute and you can't even apply. And all along some people had been holding it. So really we need to wish each other well. And what the two religious leaders said, I think as a very religious country, we should really, if we go back to that, there's very little we can add to get to where we really need to get to. I just specifically on I think every nation's most valuable resource is their human resource, and especially the young. I was heartbroken when I was going to court and I just saw so many people on Buckle Street, the passport office, trying to, I mean, and every single day up to now, they're flooding that place. Why? Because they need passports. They think they can only make it outside. Migration. So it's a problem. We've heard solutions here. We've heard what government is doing, TVET. We've heard Gainjo. But we need to get to everybody. We need to get to people's minds. We need to get to them, to offer them something that will make them stay in this country. Otherwise, the next generation, especially the male, I mean, I always joke and say that our children perhaps won't have Gambian husbands because they'll all be out if we're not very careful. So we need to really, let's not just dismiss them as not wanting to work. Let's try to come up with ideas that would keep them here. I have a couple of questions. Maybe, I also think that the very little resources that we have financial can be managed better. So I don't know what strategies, perhaps I'm looking at Prof. I wanted to ask that question to Seka from the previous panel, but I didn't get the opportunity. What strategies that can be put in place to better manage public finances and reduce reliance on external aid? I mean, the little we have, is it being managed as well as we should? And I'm wondering if grants stop now. I think you mentioned the percentage of 40. If we just suddenly everything, see not just America, but everywhere else, including the funds that would help build some of these schools that are established every day, if they stopped, where would we be as a country? And really, for Europe to just sneeze and we catch a cold, or America sneezes and we catch a cold, we saw that during the COVID. So we go back to Tessito, at least the minimum, let us feed ourselves. Let us feed ourselves. We have the most fertile soil, and I think government should really come in here and make the environment conducive for private sector. We're now beginning to see people like Ajay Kumar Defe and others being engaged in farming. So that is self-sufficiency, because if you are hungry, you have no time for anything else. When a bag of rice is $2,000 is $3,000. But everybody can afford that, so we need to do something there. Just the other question also, what anti-corruption measures can be in place to ensure accountability and transparency in government operations, day-to-day government operations? We know we have a problem. I know about the commission, but that's a different story. But it's just day-to-day management. Thank you very much.
The gentleman there.
Good evening.
Can someone help with the front mic?
Good evening.
Yeah. Okay.
Good evening. I am Terry Mendy. I have a question.
No.
I have a question for.
No, you want to give the elder priority? Okay, then you can ask, and then he can ask. Just go straight.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I will continue. Alpha Nil Bedon Pagan, the Excellency Adama Baro Condona, Gambia, Savita Warala, and Gambia maybe. Okola Condon Kusoto, during Council of Elders, Idabula Boku in Kono, during Coin of Okado. Ndamu kia manuti KMC Council of Elders. Danna lafta nangin kala wala muindi. So muna parandi. Pardo ko yung kan. Kadi ko ngajangan jandoram samale kana. Dengan nilainya nesar lebih sai. Mire buku. Ye Council of Elders ye sembo dila na campagne yoke koina fukato ngondo ko na rampa na do ko ni wala na ko samara nyato wala ka eno samara na bo ko bay ko ko ya sabati ngeri kabini kene pana umato maman ma sa kunare non mo na portale balundia semole ke ikana ti so ko ni ikakar sabado ko mo ye nuruna ye nela Tendala, y la feria roquilla. woto ni possible no mi ba ko kunna kan so das de paretale media e lanka ni ali kalo ni gogonolu na non kili goto ni kaja seno waseno mutanga doko ni waso ni sono sodora kata ni jari ni na difference o gela min serum sama mankiliya barnin jigita na ko banko de diara mo non son sonora bebe spirinja ko wala
Baraka.
ma secondaire banco gendi no da intel fonde na banco gendi ni fam min ben ka ko da be ka do ko jan ko trabu kana ni kamaro na masindi je min ka afadi moto nga bindi ko na ko be do ko te do na banco ni go no ne so na bunga fulo bunga bunga Gambia security force meje na nete bula ira do ko winna ko 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 de la ko ya ba na wali na do ko na winna ko wasi de si bulo woto be man so kunda da na ge ma ko joro e joro so si do ko ke no adi ate nyami ka intel fan fanal fone ke police o na cordali ko intel ta mon na banko me na cordal be ko ye ko ben de so ko na non te normalo ina ni ne banko ya ne na di de ko ye buri ta police o ga ni ne to gor ni ni ne do ko so ne de police o te ta no na no mo be ko wo banko di be duti de na banko kan
Waduh kata Oke, thank you very much kata.
Yo, komi min denta albamu media lonko na service ko ni mo fa ni kulle ke da albamu ko ko na ke albamu wa salwati do na ma ke ya jama ko islam ya da kai albamu akka to na sira su mesiro isani mo ko predi brata woto albamu la ko dunya ani na ngaji be ba mola haru mungkin ko je nyam assalamualaikum
Baraka. The young man, can you give the remember comma there? Give it to him. The young man, yeah, you can go ahead. Well, just
Good evening. I'm Thomas Mendy. I have a question for Senior Counsel. It relates to the land grab. I am of the view that the State Lands Act, which intended to give a managerial position to the government to administer land, is having a different effect to noting that now, more or less, the government is taking ownership of land when in truth the act doesn't intend that the government can own land, but instead it should manage it. Following the Baji subcommission in the early 80s, what happened was that there was a policy in place that one man, one land, state policy. Do you think the State Lands Act, as it is, can address our land issues, or it needs to be amended to avert serious consequences in the future? The second question relates to the national legal aid. The fundamental issue which I note that's affecting the State Commission, agency rather, is funding, because its funding is taken care of by the Ministry of Justice. Wouldn't it be prudent that the government separates the funding of, let it be a standalone, let it manage its own budget, just like the National Human Rights Commission is managing its own budget. That way, I think it's visual to solve that. And the second question goes to Prof. Prof, it's good to see you finally. I want to ask, what do the diaspora want in terms of voting? Because I'm aware, and the Supreme Court did pronounce in the case of Bunja Dabo and others, that indeed the diaspora have a right to vote, and that's provided for in the Constitution. Now, is it that the diaspora want a representation at the National Assembly level, or they want to vote in presidential election or in every other election? Because the law, as I understand it, is sufficient already. And even the present elections bill that is before Parliament is not providing anything so different for what is currently under our Election Act or decree. So I'm not really clear as to what the diaspora want, either to vote in presidential election or they want representation at the National Assembly, which is something totally different. The last question comes to Mr. Kande. Thank you for being the first person since I've started in the morning to mention E.F. Snow. I was really surprised that in our job, Golden Jubilee, we are not, Diamond Jubilee rather, we are not mentioning such an important figure. The question I have for you is that, given that now we are the democracy and the space is open up and there are several media houses coming up, do you think our solidarity and stability will not be affected by the politicization of media houses? Whether or not such cannot affect our solidarity moving forward. Thank you.
Okay. Ask and then can give the master.
Okay, good evening. Assalamu alaikum to you all. My name is Vali Kora. I am also very happy to be part of this gathering today, which I think is very, very important as far as our nation is concerned. This dialogue is something that is very, very dear to my heart. I used to watch it live. I used to follow televisions today, and I say I have to make sure I attend it. And here I am. Anyway, I have a few questions. The two of them will go to the professor concerning diaspora. They are discriminated. I was one time a diaspora and now a parliamentarian. My first question has been asked by Tony. Now the other one will just be, so what do you think are some of the constraints that government is facing? Because if you ask government also, why are you leaving out the diaspora? They will also have to say something. They will obviously have something to say. So to your experience, what do you think could be the challenges that government will be facing that is making them not to fully include diaspora in all our processes? And the next question is, that is not, of course, that's just a comment. That is attitudinal change. I think over now we are 60 years old. Gambians need to change. We should start to change our attitude. Because since in the morning, many people, speakers, has alluded how we go to offices, how we attend our functions. We go there late when in fact we leave offices when it's not yet time. All those are attitude. Gambians need to work on our attitude and also how we do our things. This issue of Mosley syndrome should be a thing of the past now. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is the issue of how to call it, our politicians. You know, these are very important figures in our society. I think our politicians, especially our leaders, should be ready now to account their followers. They should go out there, and whoever is making these hate speeches, they should call them, because everybody who is speaking, you know which political party is in support of. So that leader in that political party, I think, is that political party's leader responsibility, and call that individual. Tell him that what you are doing is not good. Stop it. I think it's about time now we speak frank to each other and tell us what is good and what is not good. This hate speech is giving us a lot of trouble, is making politics difficult, and in fact is derailing our development. Whether we know it or not, it is disturbing us. Because nationalism patriotism. We all know that now Gambians has exchanged our patriotism, our nationalism with politics. We know that. So that should be stopped. And I believe our leaders, our political leaders, have a lot of things to do in order to solve that problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And the man behind you, you want to give it to the young? Yeah? You want to go? Well, if the people are happy, I want to ask, it's time to go. Time is up, and we are already. Okay, doctor also want to take. So let's quickly keep it short and bright. Yeah.
Okay, I'm very happy to be here. So this is my first time speaking in a crowd like this. I don't know how it's going to be. Okay. Yes. Yes. Pardon? Okay. Thank you so much, Ma. I have listened to all the panels, especially Aji Job, Yama Job, I guess, Farmer Job, emphasizing on the importance of technology. Whilst he was at it, I was sitting down there making money with my phone. Yes, that moves me. She was on it while I was making money. Yes, all due to technology. But it all started 2 months ago. I just want to explain so that the others, my fellow citizens that are watching that are interested can come get to me so that I can show them the way. Because I wanted to leave the country 2 months ago because I'm not grace. Let me show you how to get money without coming here. And he has done that. Because he's a Gambian, he has done that, and I was able to make more than what I did do, all because of technology. So I want the youth to please focus on networking, digital marketing. I know how far it can get us. In less than 1 month, wallahi, ya Allah is my witness, I'm able to get myself a car. Yes, it's outside, wallahi, I will not lie, all because of technology. This is what I wanted to share. Thank you so much.
Doctor, we should start wrapping up. Time. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. Yes, good evening. I am Lamin El Sanya, the Information and Communications Minister of the University of the Gambia Students' Union.
I think that.
Yes, so my question has to will be directed to Mr. Kande, but first I would like to say, Dr. Fall, you had mentioned that the Gambia should be very proactive, especially when we see other productive individuals outside, especially Gambians, and we steal them, even if they are non-Gambians. I believe UTG will also steal you and we bring you to the UTG. Yes. So, marching in solidarity for self-reliance and national development. I believe as a country, in order for us to attain this self-reliance, we need to first of all empower the highest citadel of learning in the country, which is the University of the Gambia. And it is the university that is the garden that produces leaders who are going to run the affairs of this nation. And I would like to build a little bit on what she had said and what one of the ladies said, I think Ajiju, that has to deal with technology and digital media. I'm from the School of Journalism and Digital Media, and just like many other schools within the university, there are a lot of challenges. I believe Mr. Sankano knows what I'm talking about. That's why he's laughing. So we know that the theory aspect at the University of the Gambia is excellent. A lot of people will agree with me on that. But if you look at the schools in the University of the Gambia, practicals is lacking. And in order for us to graduate as self-reliant students or self-reliant graduates, we will not have to look up to big organizations to employ us, but to be able to start ourselves as entrepreneurs and, create jobs on our own. I think the university and the government needs to empower the university to do the practical aspect. For example, if you look at the School of Small, and it cannot accommodate most of the students. If you go to the School of Arts and Sciences, their science department, the same thing. The School of Agri and Environmental Sciences, the same thing. My president is here, he will agree with me. And if you come to the School of Journalism and Digital Media, which is 11 years old today as we celebrate the Diamond Jubilee of our nation, you realize there is one aspect which is lacking, the practicals.
lecturers who are very passionate about what they do, like Mr. Sankano, they will push us into film because he is lecturing film studies. Despite the limited practicals, he will push us into the field to learn. However, there are certain areas we cannot because there is no studio in the School of Journalism and Digital Media. There is no radio. Apparently, Al Jazeera had donated one some years ago, I have learned, but the government didn't give us because they said they fear we're going to use it for propaganda, which to me doesn't really make sense. So I believe in order for us to advance, in order for this nation to graduate students who do not have to look like journalism students, who do not have to look for to QTV for employment or journalists for employment, if we are trained on digital media, if we are trained on photography, if we are trained on graphic design, we don't even need anyone to employ us. We can earn on our own. Currently, I'm a photographer. I do videography. I'm not working in any institution, but I have my regular contracts where I can sort my daily activities. If the school empowers many students like this, the university will graduate people who do not have to go out to look for employment. But we can be reliant on our own. And when the nation's citizens are self-reliant, the nation will be self-reliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Fa. And one more, and then we give person to.
Thank you very much. I think I'm also part of those who can ask questions. So I had a question probably I need to help answer because the lady who is from Transitional Justice is gone. I understand. It has to do with the National Human Rights Commission. Somebody said that they are directly funded through the Ministry of Justice. Now I want to make
legal aid or something like that. That was the
legal
aid, yeah.
Okay, then I dropped that. Now, I think there is one core problem all of us have agreed on to, but we don't have a solution. We really need to find a solution. We all agree that we are in a generation of people who seem angry all the time, who seem to be, to lack certain manners, that we, the older people, have probably got from our elders, but the younger ones are deprived of. I don't know how to solve that problem, but we need to find a solution. Because we're going to have youths who disrespect their elders because they feel they have the right to freedom of expression. Freedom of expression does not exist in the way we bring up our children. There is a limit to what you can say, how you can say it, how you address things. I am sorry to say, some of us have studied up to the highest level of university education, but we have not lost our respect to our elders. We have not lost the respect to people who are of authority. We know how to address issues with them without being disrespectful, without using a kind of language that will show that we have no respect to them. Our religions teach us that we respect authority. Our traditions teach us we respect authority. So it's unacceptable that the youth of today feel that because they have studied tobacco language, that they have been assimilated, that they know better than us, that they can disrespect authority or they can disrespect their elders. It's unacceptable. But what is the solution? Do we have the answer? Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. You want to say something? If you want to pass. She's having the mic. Okay. Let me give the back to the teacher.
Thank you very much. This one, I'm not giving the mic to you. I think I'm now going to be a participant as a Gambian. I'll put the DPP hat and the coordinator hat aside for a minute. He made a very important remark. How are we going to solve this solution? For me, dañ dee wax ne wax lu ko yaakaar waaye lu nekk dafa am yoon lu nekk dafa am waxin lu nekk dafa am ni ko defee biñ jëkkee wax ne dañoo am jotaay first time bi 2023 bi la ñoo waxe ne dañoo def public forum ñu bari gëmuñ ko ñu ne Gambia nanga essayé ñoo xam ne opposition lañ ñoo xam ne bokkuñ xalaat ñoo xam ne bokkuñ xeet ñu war a toog ne dañoo def dialogue loolu naka laa mun a amee ñu ne leen nañ ko testé dégg na Sankano di quote professeur Fall ne ndeke mun nañ koo def parce que nit ñi boo ma ne ku fee ñëw da nga dox mbaa nga ñàkk a sago déedéet ku fee ñëw da nga àndal sago lu wax naxari naxari ak lu jëf naxari naxari suñ ko waxtaanee dinañ am yoon waxtaan bi ñu ngi li nga xam ne mooy yóbbu réew mi
maa ngi gis ne léegi waxtaan bi amatul sax Gambia bu yaagut nii rek président ni Ghana bu ES bi mu ngi host Africa Dialogue kon mu ngi dem amatul Gambia amatul Sénégal amatul Ghana mu ngi dem tuddi Africa level te àddina si yëpp sax suñ toogee ni nañ toogi ba ñu ne global dialogue parce que li tax xeex bii xew fitna yi xew ñàkk a déglu wante moo am yow ñoo bokk fii yow emal fii man ma em fii suñ waxtaanee rek lañ ko mën a def suñ waxtaanu ku nekk nee na man maa fi moom waaye fi nga moom naka ko bañ xam fan la wax daf ñoo mën a dimbale ci naka la ñoo mën a yóbbu réew mi ñi nga xam ne ñu ci biti doomi réew mi lañ parce que soo déggee ñu leen a oye diaspora lu tax oyewuñ leen américain ñu nekk américain taxul ñuy wax soo déggee ñu naan leen diaspora dafa am fuñ jógee ñu dem toog foofu daaxee foofu sax ak ku nekk yàlla lim la atteel am na ñoo xam ne seen wërsëg ci biti la ne am na ñoo xam ne seen wërsëg fii la ne waaye lu ci mun di nekk suñ d'accord ne dinañ mun a waxtaan ci biir waxtaan dinañ mun a déggoo ak lu yëpp naxari nañ xam naka lañ koo delloo fi nga xam ne mooy waxin bi parce que kilifa boo toogee moom nga bëgg a wax loo xam ne yow daf la itteel lool nga wax koo xol wax koo mer wax koo ne maa moom suma boppa dama yaru suma boppa dina jafe pour mu déglu la de waaye suñ àndee dal ñu seet yoon yi xëj na tey mënuma egga si kilifa bi waaye gis na surga man fi foofu ma waxtaan ak surga bi su doo gis ne ah kii de li wax ni kilifa bi jar na mu yëg ko mu fexe mu egga ci kilifa ba kilifa bi ne ah soo gisee surga bi yeggee ma lii de xëj na dafa am lu ci ne ñu gestu ko ñu oote wante ñu waxtaan ànd ak dal yar su boobaa billahi wax ma si gannaaw yàlla Gambia dinañ ko mën a yóbbu si lu yomba parce que képp koy wax nga nekk bitim réew ngay opposition ngay government ngay loo mun di doon dafa am loo éeni nga ne danga bëgg a Gambia dem ci kanam léegi ni ki ñoo demee si kanam nag mooy wax ci yow nga ne nañ jaar nii kii mu ne nañ jaar nii kon nañ déggoo ñu mun a xam ban yoon a gën suñ ko defee dinañ mun a déggoo. I just want to emphasize this point. Dialogue, but with respect, dignity, so that we all feel that we are citizens, we have a responsibility and a duty to this nation. Why are we here today? Some people fought for us. Why are they called negotiators? Because they went to negotiate for our independence. Today, 60 years, we are talking here for a generation, not only for ourselves, but for the next generation that is coming. So that they will say, after 60 years, there was a group of Gambians who also start to dialogue on how do we move our country forward? How do we sustain our economy? What can we do to rely on ourselves? These are the things that we should be focusing on. We have our differences. It's not possible that we are all the same color. That will never happen. But we can listen to each other, we can respect each other, we can express our opinions and our perspectives. And then others will listen, hear their perspectives, and then we say, okay, let's leave it to the general audience. They will now determine which one is the best, and they will act on it. Thank you very much. And I want to seize this opportunity to thank every one of you. Not only who are sitting here, right now I'm monitoring the media, the live program. There are so many viewers. That shows that there are people who are interested in this country. There are Gambians who want this country to move forward. But others who may see it differently, but that doesn't make that they are enemies. You can see in a household of people with different political affiliation. But that doesn't mean they are enemies. So let us work together. Let us always embrace that we are Gambians. We need the interest of the Gambians. Those of us who are in the public service, let us remember why we are there. We are serving our people. So let's work together. And I want to thank my dear boss, my brother, who has always been supportive, Mr. Mots Sisi. He has been there. When And I say, you know, if I'm troublesome, those who know me. But then he will say, Auntie Annie, Mubugarek, actually. He gave me the courage. And I want to thank the National Priority Committee. They are wonderful. You won't see them. But we are in the group, they'll be advising, do this. Some will call me privately, do it this way, do it this way. And we had an excellent team that went around the country with our OP team. And I want to say to my MCU, thank you very much. You're wonderful. I love you all. And to my president, who said, Auntie Amy, just go ahead and do what you're doing. So that means we are being encouraged to bring people together. So I thank you all, my panelists, everybody. Thank you. I love you all.
I will give the panelists the chance to answer the question. Yeah. Honorable Babuka Boy will then give us a closing remark.
I think I have 3 questions that I'm supposed to answer. I think my able president, Madam Nenecha, you mentioned something about anti-corruption. Or was it directed to me or? Well, I guess, like I mentioned in my statement, that we still have certain laws that are still yet to be passed, and I believe the anti-corruption bill is one of them. It has been passed, but in terms of implementation, putting the structures in place. It is also contained in the Constitution in terms of the structure of the commission, its composition, and its mandate. But I think what will make an anti-corruption commission to work is for it to be given powers directly in the Constitution to not have any interference from any government institution in terms of whatever it's supposed to do. And even if it's not reflected in the Constitution, I think, the legislation should enhance that. And its appointment, I note there is a nomination process by the president and then confirmed by the National Assembly. I think even before it gets to that, there should be a panel, independent panel, which is a panel of citizens, reviewing the people that are going to be appointed in that commission. So I think there should be a layer of adding the citizens in the process, because maybe what the National Assembly members might know, you could have very well citizens with good character who can give additional help on that. So I think for anti-corruption commission to work in the Gambia, there must be a will. And I note in the new constitution, it is stated that when they want to prosecute, they can refer the matter to the Attorney General. I want to believe that the Anti-Corruption Commission, just like in Sierra Leone, they should have investigative powers. There's a special court in Sierra Leone on anti-corruption, and I think they've been doing a lot of work in terms of doing their own investigation on public mismanagement of funds. So I think the only way it could work is to be given the power it deserves. Otherwise, it would just be a toothless dog. And the other thing, my colleague there sitting at the back, he mentioned whether the State Land Act is it's good as it is at the moment. I think there's a lacuna at the moment in respect of the State Lands Act. It's a 1991 legislation. We are now in 2025. A lot of things has happened when it comes to land ownership. And I want to believe that the committees that have been set up by the Minister of Lands to look at the national land policy will look into this. And the issue that you mentioned is one of the issues that have been raised, because you will see that, you have customary ownership of land. People own their land even before the State Lands Act came. The State Land Act came and designated certain areas as state lands, as Combo South, Combo Central, Combo North. And in the State Lands Act, it is stated that, if you're in those areas, you're considered a deemed lessee. And once you're a deemed lessee, you can apply to the state for a title. This title that the state is supposed to grant to you has not been defined or has not been provided for. So what are we using? We're still using the Alcalo transfer, the area council transfer. And this well, we hold it as title because the government accepts it when you're applying for lease. But one would note, especially the people that are into, going into the banking sector to apply for loan. Not all banks will accept a customary title or the area council because you cannot actually hold, sort of like locate that land. So, but I want to believe that the national land policy will solve all these issues because there's a lacuna. There's no prescribed form of deemed lease that has been, the minister has provided. The law says, well, the minister can make regulations and so forth, but there's none. So everyone is basically using what they found there. And also, this is also debatable, whether the minister has trustee powers or automatically, if it says you're a deemed lease, the ownership transfers to the states. Because that's the conception. And I have a different interpretation because people own the land and, the government is a custodian. And that is why I want to believe if you want to acquire, you have to go through a process. That is the only way you could, put the two laws together to make sense. Because if the government has to go through some acquisition process, then it means that, that land belongs to somebody. And I think why, there's a lot of problems in the Gambia as well, which I believe maybe the national policy will also solve, is that the acquisition process is not clear to Gambians. I know there is a provision in the Act as to what needs to be done, but I think there should be more regulations to explain to the community. Because sometimes, land is taken for public purpose, which is going to benefit every Gambian, but the people don't, appreciate the process. And I think it should be, expressly stated in the law rather than just generally stated. And the compensation method as well. The way people are compensated, government has its own system of calculating compensation, which is different from the open market. But certain people have challenged it in the courts in terms of how they are compensated. So I think these are all the things that we should need to take into consideration as a government. Thirdly, the national legal aid. Fortunately, the chairperson is sitting here. Legal aid for me is personal to me, and I think the national legal aid should have its own funding. Because we talk about access to justice. If you cannot access justice, then there is no point. And I think they're doing a great work in terms of their limited resources in ensuring that cases of capital offenses are being prosecuted, not charging the accused persons or their families. But they have another rule, which is the civil aspect. And it's there in the legislation. It's actually there. It's just that they don't have the funding, just like the National Human Rights, to be able to fulfill those duties. And I want to believe that the government will look into it. There's a National Legal Aid Agency here in Banjul. There's one in Basse. And I want to believe we'll have more in other regions in the Gambia. I come from an association whereby we provide legal aid free, but just to women and children. But you will see that most of the women that go to the National Legal Aid Agency are sent to my organization. I'm an NGO. I have limited funds. So I cannot help every Gambian. So imagine those women that we cannot help, where do they go? Or those families we cannot help, where do they go? So I hope the government will look into the National Legal Aid Agency's funding, provide them with more financial resources. Human resources is there because you have so many young lawyers coming from the university who are here and without a job. So I think, I'll agree with you, they should have their separate funding in the budget. I think those were the questions that were...
The chairman of legal aid just want to elaborate.
Yes.
I've just stepped down actually.
Okay.
So, but I do know that, Tony, I think you forgot, December 2023, the National Assembly approved the independent budget of now, after we fought for it for so long. So they do have it now, beginning this year. So they've been kind of been receiving it. Well, not quite what we expected, but hopefully, that was last year. So this year, hopefully, they will give the budget that we have. It is still sort of under MOJ, but it stands alone, as opposed to before where they would give NALA anything that was left.
Professor?
Thank you very much. The Imam Lee asks the question, why do Gambian professionals do well abroad?
are not here. And amongst the many possible explanations, there's one that's definitely credible. That is that it's a structural issue. In management, everywhere it's known, in terms of the result you have output, it's what you put in. And we've all been agreeing that human resource is one of the most important ingredients. But what do they go into? They go into a structure. And what does that structure, how does it operate? It operates within systems and processes. So the Minister of Public Service is here. The government recognizes that, and that the public sector, the civil service, do need a reform. That, because that's the structure and the systems and processes here, so that it makes the best use of all the ingredients. That is human resources, financial resources, technical resources. And that is a big chunk of technical work that is not complete. And in my view, we're not even brave enough to attack it the way we need to attack it. But that is one credible explanation. There might be others, but that is one. In terms of the diaspora who said, I'm coming to help, that the most serious people who come to do work, you don't even hear them say anything. Most of the people who say that, the chances are they're not even doing a lot. And that is also true with many of the things. The people who do the most work, Dolendega, the majority is quiet. They just get on with the work. The work is so difficult, so hard. They don't have time to be talking too much. So I think those who hear it, so I think those who hear it, bear that in mind as well, that perhaps you are hearing from minority. Then the question of the diaspora voting, what's needed. Effectively now, as the law stands, as Mr. Mendy mentioned, the diaspora should have been voting. That's the law is clear on that. Why are they not voting? They've not given us polling votes. That's the starting point. And let's put that in context. It's like you say, just as all Gambians have the right to vote, some people have even said, oh, you do have the right because you can come back from England and register and go back home, and election time you come back and vote. Exactly. So that's the equivalent. That's effectively you're denying it to me. That's like you saying all of Gambians register to vote, but you have to come to election house in Canifing. You come from Willie, from Cantora to come and register, and then you go home. Election day, all of you should come to election house. It makes no sense. So some of the arguments, someone asked, what are the arguments, the parliamentarian asked, that I use as to what's happening. Sometimes arguments that bad are advanced as to why the diaspora are not given the vote. Yeah? So that is one thing. That is give us polling votes so that we vote. But there's something else we're asking, which the law has not created for, and I think Mr. Cisse mentioned, that is still under Section 39 of the Constitution. Not only that we vote, but we voted for. That is to demarcate 5 constituencies for the diaspora. It's been done by many others. In election, there is a concept that you do not vote based on acres of land. You vote on the basis of heads of people. Because who do you represent? It's not the land, it's the people. That is why an area with a high population should have more members of parliament. So that's the same principle you demarcate the diaspora. Our neighbor Senegal have a parliament of what, about 170 members of parliament, 160 members of parliament, and 1/5 of them are elected in diaspora constituencies. There's one for Gambia and Guinea-Bissau in this area. And it works. So the question, in Gambia, the Electoral and Boundary Commission is the IEC. And they know this so well that they not only, you will remember it, that in 2020, they announced the dates as to when they will go out to register the diaspora for them to vote. I can assure you that our own project, the MSDG project, have worked with IEC to the nth level of detail of the technicalities on the logistics of the voting. The question of the money, in leading to the 2021 election, the Minister of Finance revised the budget to provide more money to the IEC for if it was needed for the diaspora voting. So where we are with that is, it just should happen. It's a denial. There is no nice way of putting it. We are not able to vote, that is fact. And we should be able to vote. And then the demarcation should happen. And finally, there was the other question of, no, I think that's the, how do we reduce dependence on external aid? Not that we shouldn't have all aid. And here the diaspora is important. You see, if I live in the UK, I've worked all of my life in the UK, and I pay taxes here. Some of the aid money from UK, guess what? It's my money. So as diaspora, in this case, I'm not a beggar. It's not just a free gift. So again, with this thing about being diaspora, it's an addition. It's not a subtraction. So I would continue to lobby the UK government to give aid, because part of it, it's my money, and it's spending it, it's something else that I can have a view. But without any doubt, we've seen countries that used to depend a lot on aid, and because of their economic development, it's gone down. So that Gambia can follow that route. We heard it today. At independence, almost all of the money was coming from the UK. We've weaned ourselves to the level of 30% or so, but that's too much. Because guess what? Sometimes countries would elect a sociopath. And we know what happens.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Let's say concluding remarks. Thank you very much. I want to say, I didn't mention it, like NGOs in 2024 contributed almost 1 billion towards national development. And that is only 80%, 80 organizations that were, that provided the information out of 136. Not to talk about those ones that are not registered, that are not NGOs, but civil society, who we haven't know how much they have contributed. So we contribute a lot to development of this country. And as you mentioned, we continue to advocate for diaspora, because it's one of our key things we do, and we will continue doing that. And we will also recommend that regarding this dialogue, it's not from year to year, but there must be a midterm to see how far we have gone. I think that is important. It's all part of accountability and monitoring. I think that needs to be done, working together with all partners involved in this thing. But we shouldn't go, this first dialogue is the first dialogue, the second dialogue, and wait until the third one. In between, something should happen. It should be continuous. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there was a question from Mr. Mendy about the politicization of the media and whether or not we can survive that for national unity. Yes, we can. We have, because politicization of the media is not new in the Gambia. Political parties have own media. In fact, some will tell you that Foria is owned by DOI, and you will agree with me that they're doing a very good job of being very professional media outlets. So, however, I would emphasize the need for professionalization in the media, whether or not that's politically owned media or not, or whether or not it's media that is supposedly aligned with one political party or the other. So professionalization is super important in terms of that. And the second bit is there's a lag in terms of the regulatory framework. We have come a long way. We've seen a number of reforms, especially the Supreme Court in 2018 declared criminal defamation as unconstitutional, and revised the definition of sedition. Very, very progressive rulings. However, in most democracies, sedition is no longer a criminal issue. And I think Gambia having, we are an old democracy, had disruption, and we are now back in democracy. I think we should be in a situation where, sedition is not a criminal issue. And especially in the new definition of what is sedition, the administration of justice, the president, those people have enough to hire proper legal representation to litigate cases in the civil courts. I see no reason why public resources could be spent on prosecuting individuals, journalists, or activists on issues around that. And finally, is the issue of media information and literacy. Yes, the media can be political, and I think it should be political, if you ask me. But if the populace is aware, the populace is informed in terms of the civic awareness and the role of the different kind of media, then we shouldn't have a lot of fear about what that can mean for national unity. So thank you, and happy Independence Anniversary to everyone.
Thank you. Again, we clap for one again, and we did very well. It has been a long, successful day. I would like to invite Honorable Minister Babukar Boy, Minister for Public Service, Administrative Reform, Policy Coordination and Delivery, for the closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It has been a very, very long day, and the hall is almost empty. So I don't really want to keep you long here. It was a day that was dedicated for what we call a national dialogue. And in dialogue, especially when it is to do with the duty bearers, I think your function should be more listening than defending or talking. I think what has been said since in the morning, from the first panel to this panel, and from the questions that came from the audience and some of the perspectives that were shared with us, I want to say that as a government, we have taken note of all of them. But I want to make particular reference to few, which I think are worth mentioning because of, their importance. Mr. Jha in the morning talked about two things that made his company or the work that he does to be successful. One was education, and the other was about the value system. Dr. Barry asked this question, that we've been talking about the attitude of people in this country, but we did not proffer, solutions. Honestly, I believe in that honestly. If we deal with that value system that Mr. Jha referred to in the morning, it would fix over 90% of the problem that he has mentioned. You see, we must go back to those days when the kids in our homes receive the necessary discipline that they should go with into the larger society. I cannot accept from any parent telling a government that you should organize programs because our kids are not, behaving at home. Mathematically, it doesn't make sense. How many hours do the kids spend outside the home compared to the hours they spend at home? I'll give you this simple example. As permanent secretary, Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, my kids all went to public schools. And one of the things that I used to do the first day of the term, I will go to the teacher and tell them that, you see, don't even look at them as still, kids of permanent secretary. If they misbehave here, just let me know. Because I don't expect them to behave in the school in any way different from the way they behave at home. Honestly, in all the schools that they went, some of the teachers would tell me, if all the kids from people like you behave like your kids, we would have had a very, very, disciplined education system. We need to definitely go back to that. You can have differences.
But like was said, yar ak tegin, lumla met dulako khan. And this is where we are in this country. Sometimes you see the way people behave in the streets. You wonder whether they come from homes. We've heard from the civil society organizations how they are contributing towards, the government development agenda. Madam Jai, I've been looking for somebody like you all this while. I have been dealing with cases of men, especially my Fana folks, maltreating their wives, and I've been standing for them. I used to use Janet Sala a lot. They will divorce and treat these people like dogs. As we speak, there is a lady that I grew up with. Her dad gave her part of the land where they stayed in Bundu. I helped her build a house with her children and her husband. The husband passed away 2 years ago. Very useless brothers took her to court that the portion of land that the dad gave her should be part of their inheritance distribution. I said to this tomorrow, because that lady has to be, protected. So as I said earlier, I don't want to waste your time. We've heard all that you have said. All the panelists have done an extremely good job of telling us, they are giving us their perspectives. We have heard from you. As a government, we've taken note of it. And I can assure you, we will work together. I have heard the comment that most of the people here in the room are, not, from government. I will work with the Chief of Staff and the Director of Press to make sure that, inshallah, next year, it will be a different thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you all. Reach home safely. Dialogue continues. It has been a successful day. Thank you so much. Who's counted? That's it.